Late September 1853. After a grueling 329-day journey from Denmark, Mads and Maren Jensen arrived in the Salt Lake Valley with 3 surviving children. They were penniless refugees in a high desert wilderness. Survival in this environment required immediate, grueling physical labor. To feed his family, Mads relied on his pre-existing trade as a skilled millwright. For the first 4 years, they moved constantly across the frontier. In Caseville, they lived in a dirt dugout while Mads built a mill for the community. Later, they moved to Weber and Ogden, grinding grain for a steady stream of new arrivals. Then, in 1857, Apostle Lorenzo Snow called Mads to Brigham City to manage a new flour mill. This move ended their 4-year struggle to find a foothold. In Brigham City, the Jensens finally had the stability they needed to stop chasing survival and begin building a permanent home. Once settled, the Jensen family began to expand through plural marriage. Over the next several years, Mads married Gertrude, Elsie Marie, and Aurora. The household eventually grew to include 32 children. In such a large, complex family, the potential for internal jealousy and friction was constant. To prevent chaos, the parents enforced strict discipline and a code of mutual respect. The children were taught from birth never to use the terms half-brother or half-sister. They were simply one family. Maren, as the first wife, took the lead in maintaining this unity. Her grace was tested when the youngest wife, Aurora, died young, leaving behind an orphan son named Hiram. Maren immediately took Hiram into her own care, raising him alongside her biological children without distinction. Hiram later testified that Maren treated him with such total devotion that if there was ever favoritism in the house, he felt it was actually in his favor. Keeping a plural family of this size intact required more than just rules. It relied on a constant, selfless effort that became the defining feature of the Jensen home. Outside the home, Mads built a similar reputation for uncompromising honesty among the farmers and merchants of Brigham City. His son Elias remembered a time his father went to purchase wheat. The seller trusted Mads so completely that he handed him the key to the granary and told him to measure the grain himself. Inside the silo, Mads filled a half-bushel container, running a straight edge across the top to ensure the measurement was exact. Then, Elias watched as Mads reached into that perfectly leveled bucket and scooped a double handful of wheat back into the seller's pile. Mads told his son that when a man shows his trust by giving you the key to his livelihood, you must overcorrect to ensure you never accidentally take more than you paid for. On the frontier, this level of integrity became a form of currency, an unbreakable public reputation that people could rely on. In the 1880s, that reputation faced its most significant challenge. Federal marshals began a series of aggressive raids across Utah, hunting down polygamists. While many others went into hiding, Mads refused to run or deny his family when the marshals arrived at his mill to arrest him. He surrendered peacefully, asking only for enough time to go home and shave off his long beard to prepare for the penitentiary. He was taken to Ogden for trial in 1887. The prosecution called local non-Mormon witnesses to the stand, expecting these Gentile neighbors to testify against a polygamous leader. The trial became a direct test of the character Mads had built over 30 years in the community. The strategy failed. The non-Mormon witnesses spoke so highly of Mads' integrity that the court acquitted him, issuing only a small fine instead of a prison sentence. One neighbor, William Gardner, later remarked that if any man lived polygamy right, it was Mads Jensen. Mads worked until his final day. In July 1898, at the age of 77, he collapsed and died on a street corner while carrying an armful of alfalfa for his pig. Maren died the following year. Among the family's most prized records is a telegram sent by future church president Lorenzo Snow upon learning of the death. Snow wrote, "A more honorable, faithful, and conscientious man never lived than my old and tried friend." Mads and Maren Jensen began their journey with nothing, and they died with very little material wealth. But they left behind a name so well regarded it had saved their family from the law and provided their 32 children with a standard of character to follow.